right, let's go to Matt in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing okay. About you?
Great. What's going on?
All right, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm a high school personal finance teacher, and I actually teach the Dave Ramsey program
Awesome.
for teenagers. And what I'm trying to ask is, I don't just tell them that I'm just teaching you to teach this. I actually tell them I do live this. I try to do the steps just like I'm trying to encourage them to do. One of the things, though, that I noticed, and, I try to bring in, stories from my life. We do the videos, we do the worksheets, like I can see it on their faces sometimes. I think they think some of this is just a hoax,
They
Like
just
think,
don't care, Matt. Go ahead and say it. They just
life,
don't care.
Yeah, that was your life where you screwed up and you made mistakes, or that was Dave's life. I'm so-and-so, so how do I break through that wall, if you get what I'm saying?
So do they think they have it all together? They're like, I don't need this stuff. This isn't important to me.
I really do believe some of them think this is, they got it all together, that this is the hoax. And I tried to tell them the folks that think that they have it all together are the ones that are going to come apart first.
Well,
I think I'm nuts.
Here's what's interesting, Matt. A couple things I'll say, and then I'll let George jump in here. But I spoke to high school students on money for about 6 years before I ever was doing business coaching, life coaching, any of the stuff that I'm doing now. And one of the things that is so difficult, and you know this better than anybody because you're on the front lines, is it is so hard to make a high school student care about something they just don't care about. Specifically, it's hard to make them care about a topic that they feel is not relevant to them right now. So you can talk all day about being on a budget, but if they've got the 24-hour ATM of mom and dad, they're not really motivated to give every dollar a name because they just asked mom for a 20. Can I have a 20? Can I have a 20? So part of it is you have an uphill battle in the fact that you're teaching them something that either is not reinforced at home or is just not even, it's just not even a conversation at home. So the one thing I would say just to kick this off as we dig into this with you is anytime you can have a conversation with the parents at parent-teacher conferences, tell them what you're talking about, ask the students to go home and ask the parents, do you have any debt? How do you feel about debt? Begin to involve the parents and almost come alongside them and say, hey, let's together help set them up for success. And some may be resistant. Some may have some shame of their own money mistakes. But until you get the parents on board, it's going to be harder to break through because there's not a real consequence, reward, or even motivation. The other thing I would just encourage you is, and I'm definitely a product of this, of being a high school student, but you are planting seeds that you may not see grow even by the time they graduate, but you have no idea what that's going to turn into and how it is sticking with them. So I just want to encourage you, even if you don't see a huge transformation right now, in the back of their mind, that these conversations, these lessons might come to mind when they're offered a credit card in college and they make a different decision. We heard a really cool story from a young man that was on the fence of which college to go to. One, he was thinking about taking out a ton of student loans because it was his quote-unquote dream school. And another one, he could pay cash and work his way through. And he ended up paying cash, working his way through. He's completely debt-free, making an incredible income. And he attributes that to our Foundations in Personal Finance course. So even if you're not seeing light bulbs go off, that doesn't mean you're not planting seeds that will come into play later. But it's hard, George. This is a hard audience to teach because they just don't
High
care.
schoolers, I'm not usually scared on stage. High schoolers, they put the fear of God in me. They're just sitting there with their arms crossed, right? They're sitting back and they're like,
They look like they're
"Impress me."
actually asleep. Yes.
Like, you're not cool. I see right through your soul. You're a loser. I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm a loser. And so here's what I found.
true.
High schoolers, middle schoolers, they're insecure. And they're playing it off with this kind of false confidence, like they're too cool for everything. And so what I found, because I actually hosted the latest edition of our Foundations in Personal Finance curriculum, and as I'm writing these scripts, I'm like, how do I connect with a 16-year-old? I'm like, what would 16-year-old George want to see on the screen? And I realized I just need to own my mistakes and be self-deprecating, connect with them where they're at, and talk about their goals, not talk about me and why it's important to invest in the power of compound interest. I want to get their vision for what they want for their life. And usually when you get them talking about themselves, then they're bought in to why it connects to what you're trying to teach them with personal finance. So, Matt, I love what you're doing. I already love teachers in general.
Sure.
But especially the ones that are teaching personal finance, and even more so the ones that teach our personal finance curriculum. And so I don't know what your class is like. They may love you already, but get them to talk about their dreams and their goals. And what I found is it is like an interrogation when you ask them about college. They say, what do you want to do? How much is that going to cost? Do you know how much that is a semester? Do you know how much books are? How much student loan debt are you willing to take on? And you start to ask these questions, and they get all frozen. They go, oh my gosh, I need to learn some things. I got to Google some stuff. I got to talk to mom and dad. And like you said, Christy, they're not having these conversations at home. So Matt, you are an especially important part of their lives. And so you can pour into them even more so than some other parents who are maybe unwilling to have these conversations, don't agree with the Ramsey principles because they're drowning in debt and feel like it's normal. And so what I would do if I was you is connect with them on their dreams and their goals and get on their level, and don't talk at them, talk with them. And once you do that, it's going to be a partnership where they're going, hey, teacher, how can I learn more about this? This is fascinating.
It may just take some time, but Matt, you're doing awesome. That's a hard job, and we commend you. We are so grateful for you doing that hard work on the front lines, and we really do believe that that is going to pay off. You're planting seeds. You may see it tomorrow. You may see it this year. You may not, but I believe it's going to stick with them in more ways than you know. Great job. Thanks for calling.